Okay, it's 6 o'clock, we can call the meeting to order. Mr. Castrator, will you call the roll, please?
Yes. Mr. Beckman?
Yes.
Mr. Gunther?
Present.
Mr. Korenik?
Present.
Mrs. Webb?
Here.
Mr. Young?
Here. Would everyone please stand and join the board in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Before we get started, I'd like to welcome our new board member, Mr. Korniak.
Appreciate that, thank you.
Korniak. Welcome. Okay, Dr. Rice, would you like to review the agenda for us?
Absolutely. Pretty straightforward agenda this evening. We do have one special presentation. Mrs. Becky Morgan, our Director of Special Services, will present an update on all the things that go on in her department. We'll have an opportunity to discuss lots of pieces of policy. This should get us through the biennial budget policy updates. So I think there's a dozen of them tonight. After we have our reports out from our committees, opportunity for public comments, and then we'll go through the reports and recommendations from the superintendent, which includes several items for personnel, overnight field trip, and then the policy approval that was read way back in December. So, and then I'll turn it over to Mr. Castater.
Yep. Light agenda for treasurer tonight as well, our standard monthly reports, and one additional item, which is approving the purchase of new band uniforms for next year.
Okay, thank you. Everyone's had a chance to look over the minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make the motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we call the roll, please.
Yes. Mr. Gunther?
Yes.
Mr. Beckman?
Yes.
Mrs. Webb?
Yes.
Mr. Korenik?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes. Okay. Time for our special presentation. Welcome.
Hello, how are you?
Doing well.
To present tonight for special services, which includes special education, includes IEPs, 504s, and then all of our ELL students, which is English language learners, is Mrs. Becky Morgan.
Thank you. Hello. Good evening. Thank you for having me tonight to share a brief update on special services. I just wanted to give more of just like a bird's eye view of our programs and what we're kind of up to these days. I'm going to talk about our alignment to our One Plan goals. I'm going to go over some trends and some of our special services and programming, and then talk about some trends with our ELL program, and then just a very brief funding overview and a look at our finances and how the special education budget is comprised. So with our One Plan, we've been working, we're in year 2 of our One Plan. It consists of 3 goals. Our third goal is the one that really focuses in on our students with disabilities. So our goal is to help our students to increase their growth index on the state report card in both English, language arts, and math by 2027. So that's something that we've been really working towards over the past year and a half now. Some of the action steps that we have been focusing on is establishing some common diagnostic assessments for students who need that Tier 3 intervention for math and ELA. Making sure we have the proper and appropriate progress monitoring tools, and ensuring that all students who need to take the end of course exams are getting that core instruction in Tier 1 so that they can be prepared for the assessment. So some things that we have been up to, some things we've been doing. We've definitely been taking a good look at our intervention curriculum materials. I've been working really closely with Emily and Tracy and vetting some of those materials. We utilize the Unique Learning Systems curriculum for K-12. So that is all-encompassing, not just reading intervention, but a total Tier 3 program for our students who are in resource self-contained classrooms for the majority of their day. It consists of all subjects. And there's also involved in that is the Inspire Phonics program. So that is an approved reading intervention program that is part of ULS. But we use that for our students who are also in that resource room, self-contained classroom for grades K-3. We also have Startup, Build Up, Spiral Up as a reading intervention program. It's actually, we have it for K-5, so initially we had purchased it for K-3, but found that it could be beneficial for some of our students who are struggling readers in the 4th and 5th grade. So we purchased that for our intermediate building as well. And then we also utilize the Rewards Reading Program for grades 6 through 12. So we're piloting that this year. We're piloting that at the high school, and then also in our on our 6th grade team at the middle school. And just being really intentional about how we're incorporating that in the station rotation for ELA during that ELA block to ensure that those students are getting that intervention, but also receiving the Tier 1 instruction during class time. When looking at common diagnostics, we purchased the Bader Reading Inventory for all of our intervention specialists, K-12, so that's a tool that our intervention specialists have at their disposal if they're needing to collect data or get a baseline for students for IEPs or for evaluations. The Quick Phonics Assessment or the Quick Spelling Assessment is available within the Startup, Build Up, Spiral Up program that we have that our intervention specialists are able to use during intervention time. I met with our resource room teachers in grades K-3. There are lots of assessments within the ULS, more than we could ever possibly want or need. So we've had some meaningful conversations and identified the assessments that would best align with the data we're getting from typical assessment, diagnostic assessments like the DIBELS assessment, MAP, just making sure that we're identifying the assessments that are going to give us similar data for those students who might not be able to participate in those assessments, but we still need to get some sort of data point on where they are. We also have EasyCBM for all of our buildings, so that's a progress monitoring software that all of our intervention specialists can use to progress monitor for ELA and math. And we also have an authored assessment schedule for our students taking the alternate assessment for the students with the most cognitive disabilities, significant cognitive disabilities. So that is something that we put in place last year. And it just has its testing windows just like we would have for the MAP assessment or the state assessment. It's just a practice assessment that takes place in the fall, the winter, and then the spring. And it also gives our students the chance to see what the alternate assessment is like, to give them that exposure to that assessment so they're not seeing it for the very first time when they go to take the test in the spring. So,
Quick question.
Yeah.
A few questions. District alignment to one plan goals. What's one plan goals?
Those are our goals with the state of Ohio. We
Yeah.
went over those, when we do the report card, everything ties back to that. There's 3 specific goals, and Emily, feel free
Yeah.
to jump in. The 3 specific goals that drive everything that we do in the district.
Okay.
It's a requirement with the state.
So we have a goal around literacy and improving our ELA scores across every building to be 5 stars for ELA by the end of '27. We have a goal around the development
MTS.
and implementation of MTSS for academics, behavior, attendance, SEL. And we did literacy last year. We're working through the rest of them for implementation next year
Okay.
for MTSS, and then this would be our 3rd goal.
So is Unique Learning Systems only used for special needs students?
correct.
Is that right?
Yes.
And is that in all subject areas or only in English language arts, or?
No, Unique Learning System is a full curriculum. So it has science, social studies, ELA, math. For our older kids, it has transition materials. It's a full curriculum.
Okay. Is that software basically, or?
Yes, so it's web-based. and the program utilizes a lot of symbols. So some of our students who are nonverbal, they use AAC devices or maybe communication devices that use what we would call, the icons kind of look like, I would call them symbol sticks or board maker icons, which anybody who's special education minded might know what I'm talking about more, but they use that, that kind of model in that instruction, and you can also adjust the level of support in each of the layers, so it has different ways that you can accommodate for students. If they're more of like a visual learner, if they're emergent readers or non-readers, it can provide that visual, the picture support. But it is really good for our students, especially for our older students, because it gives them that level of support, but it still provides that age-appropriate instruction for them, and it's aligned to the Ohio's standards. So it's a big program, but it's very good. Our students, they utilize it in every resource classroom that we have in our building. So
These are for kids that are in the resource room and receiving.
unique learning systems.
Resource room.
Yep, unique learning systems is. Some of these are utilized, like rewards is used in the regular 6th grade ELA block, but it's a station. So students who need that intervention, they would participate in that during that block. But that is in the gen ed classroom with an intervention specialist present.
Yeah. And the Inspire Phonics is.
Inspires within Unique, and that is more for our students in the self-contained classroom as well. The Startup, Build Up, Spiral Up is a reading intervention that we use for our kids who are identified but are participating in general education ELA.
Okay, thanks.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so I just put a graphic up here for our special education trends. So this is our enrollment data over the last 5 years of students within our special education program. So I just wanted to highlight a couple of things on this slide here. So as you can see, in the last 5 years, we've had a steady increase of students who are identified within our special education program. You can see a little bit of a bigger jump between 24-25 school year and then current, and that current number changes every single day. So we might get move-ins, move-outs, new kid gets identified. So that's the number as of today when I updated the slide. So, but I mean, we're seeing a steady but manageable increase. So the good news is this is very consistent with state trends. So I don't have any concerns about us over-identifying or anything like that. We're maintaining very well, and the fact that we've had this very steady but manageable increase over the last 5 years tells me that we're in a good spot. One thing I do want to highlight, that small number underneath the bigger number there, so above 21-22, you see 2,763, 2,731. That's our actual head count of enrollment total. So in 21-22, we had 2,763 students attending Ross Local Schools. 556 of them were identified in special ed. So what you'll see is every year, that big number at the bottom, that total enrollment is going down pretty significantly, but our special education numbers are steadily increasing. So even though we're seeing this decrease in enrollment, we are not seeing a decrease in special education.
So our percentage of students in receiving services is going up.
Yes, yes. Yep. So I just broke this out to show you a little bit more. So same graph, but if you look at this is the IEP 504 enrollment data. So 504 is housed within special education, even though students who are on 504s aren't necessarily, they're not identified as requiring special education services. It's something separate. So I just broke those out so that you could see the trends of students in the gray. Those are students who are on IEPs. And then students in the yellow, those are the students who are on 504s. So as you can see, from 5 years ago, we're seeing a pretty significant increase in students on 504 plans. So if you look at it, really, I mean, from 432 to 440 students 5 years ago on an IEP. We're doing pretty well and staying pretty consistent with how we're identifying kids. We had a slight hike in 22, 23. That could be, a couple years after COVID, maybe noticing some issues. But really, our big jump right there is students who are eligible for a 504.
Can you briefly explain the difference between an IEP and 504? for
Absolutely,
some of
yes.
our newer
So-
board members?
Yes. So an IEP is under IDEA. So if a student is eligible for special education services, they receive an IEP. That means that they require some sort of specially designed instruction in order to progress in their curriculum. So an IEP literally spells out what that service looks like. And we are entitled to provide a student who is eligible for special education services a free and appropriate public education. 504 falls under ADA, which is a little bit different, and that's more of a non-discrimination. So that's providing accommodations and modifications to ensure that people who do have an identified disability are not discriminated against because of that disability. So they're not receiving specially designed instruction. They don't need specially designed instruction, but they might need a little bit of support in the classroom. Maybe they need a little bit of support with a medical or health issue or something like that. But that's where a 504 plan comes in place. So you're only going to see on a 504 plan accommodations that a student might need. Maybe they need extended time, or maybe they need frequent breaks, or maybe, if they're diabetic, they might need access to their cell phone throughout the day to check their sugar. So there's lots of different things that are protected under 504. But if a student has an identified disability that significantly impacts their day-to-day living in any capacity, they qualify for a 504.
So what do you attribute the increase in 504s to?
Well, I think that people are probably more aware of 504 than they were in the past. I think that students who whose parents maybe raise concerns about them having a disability or needing specially designed instruction, they might initiate the evaluation process, and then their child is not eligible for services under IDEA for an IEP. However, they have that disability, so they qualify for a 504. So I think the threshold for a 504 is not as significant as an IEP, which might be a contributing factor to why more students might be on a 504 plan.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Do you ever see any, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but I don't want to say improvement, do you ever see people that have success graduating from an IEP or a 504 plan?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we do. We actually have quite a few, and I was at the high school in another district previously. I was an intervention specialist, and I was there for 7 years. And in my time, I really don't even remember students exiting. And since I've been here, I mean, we have them every year. So we definitely have students who exit. We have a lot of students who are younger who exit. Sometimes students might go on an IEP early on because of a speech delay or something like that, and that they're on it for a couple of years, and then they make the progress and they go and they no longer qualify. So we reevaluate every 3 years. So anytime a child is identified for special education services, we reevaluate every 3 years to ensure that we are meeting their needs appropriately. And if they are no longer indicating that they need that, then we're discontinuing services, and that's always a very positive thing. And that's exciting. That means that they've made that growth. So that's what it's all about.
I mean, I would guess that with respect to the 504s increasing, I would say with technology and improvements, we've been able to probably effectively use tools, data, more to our advantage to help identify issues. And again, I think to your point, we've probably got more awareness too.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. All right. So We have some indicators that have been released. So the special education report card and our profile, it goes in phases. So they have done phase 1 already. So there's just a couple of indicators that have been released. And I'm sorry, it's a little bit blurry showing up on the screen here, but I'll explain the best I can. So our profile is broken up into essential questions. So I'm just going to quickly just highlight the ones. We've met all of them, so you don't have to worry about trying to squint to see them. We've met each of the indicators, but the first one is asking if young children in our district with disabilities are entering kindergarten ready to learn. So that's indicator 12, and it looks at the percentage of children who are referred by Part C early intervention services like Help Me Grow before age 3, making sure that we get them into our building, get them into preschool, make sure that if they are eligible that we have an IEP in place by their 3rd birthday. So that's a really big deal to make sure that we have that IEP in place by their 3rd birthday when they enter, and we do that. The second indicator is our children with disabilities achieving at high levels. So this is really just a participation mark. So this isn't performance-based. The performance-based measure will come out later. But this is just the participation. So any student who's coded as a student who's in a grade where they need to be taking the alternate assessment for students with the most significant cognitive disabilities, are they taking it? And we have a 100% rate for that as well. Essential question 3, to what extent do students with disabilities have access to the general education environment? This is really just looking to make sure that we are not out of ratio with putting students out of school suspensions in relation to students without disabilities. So making sure that we're not disciplining students with disabilities out of proportion with students without disabilities. And then essential question 4, are youth with disabilities prepared for life, work, and post-secondary education? So this looks at 3 different things. It looks at our graduation rate of students with disabilities, looks at their dropout rate, and then their secondary transition. So secondary transition is making sure that any student who is on an IEP, that they have a transition plan in place by their 14th birthday. So we have to make sure that any student who is turning 14 that year, we have to make sure that there's a transition plan in place, and that is a section within their IEP that we just populate at that point. So those are all met. And then the last 2, question 5, does the district implement IDEA to improve services and results for children with disabilities? This was a parent survey that we were required to send out. It's something that Ohio State University sends out to all the districts. You only have to do it once every 6 years. We were lucky to have to do it last year. So we did that, did our due diligence and sent out that survey. If you're going to ask me what the survey said, I don't have the results yet. They said they were going to share those with us, but we have not gotten anything back yet about that. So hopefully we'll get some information so that we know how we're doing and what parents are saying about our program and how we can improve. And then the last one there is timely evaluations as well. So indicator 11, that's making sure that we don't miss timelines. So if there's one thing about special education, its timelines are critical. So we have to make sure that we are meeting our timelines, making sure that evaluations are done within 60 days, IEPs are in place within 30 days of finding a student eligible, just making sure that we are following those to a T, and our team does a really good job with that. And then finally, essential question 6, are children receiving equitable services and supports? That's just making sure that we're not disproportionate in how we're identifying students. So that looks at ethnicity, but it also looks at disability category and making sure we're consistent with the trends of the state, that we don't have we're not over-identifying in specific disability categories. And then there's just the rating calculation that shows that we meet requirements after the state does all their fancy stuff with the numbers. So I threw a slide on here for ELL programming. So I have a little arrow down there. So those are our Title III funds. So we get $2,707 for ELL students. So we don't get a lot. but we do a lot. So I just wanted to highlight some of the current supports that we have for our students who are English language learners. We currently have one ESL tutor that comes to our district 3 days a week and meets with our students. She uses the hands-on English curriculum for students who are newcomers. Newcomers are students who have been in the United States for less than 180 days and do not speak English. We also utilize Rosetta Stone as a supplemental curriculum to help students acquire English. And it's really nice because it can be supplemental, like in the ELA class time, but it also can be used if the student wants to take their Chromebook home over a break or over the summer and work on, since it's an online program, they can work at their leisure to acquire English. We also are in a 3-year instructional coaching and professional development contract with the ESC, so we have ongoing coaching and professional development being provided in that way. Teachers have the opportunity to be SIOP trained, which is a model that we utilize for addressing the needs of our diverse learners. And then our students who are identified as ELL have accommodation plans for student-specific needs.
And it is the case that we're required to identify these students, but we're not required to serve them. Is that a too simple a statement or not?
So when a student comes to our district and they indicate on the survey that they speak a language other than English in the home, that automatically triggers us having to administer the OELPS. So that is a screener, it's a state test,
Right.
And that measures what their language proficiency is. So if they are not proficient in any of the domains, they would then be identified as an English language learner. We are required to notify the parent that their student is eligible for the services, and we have a letter that we send home that asks them to indicate yes or no. So yes or no, they want to receive that instructional support, or no. All of our parents, they take the support for the most
Unlike
part.
special ed, there's no requirements like special ed, correct?
No, there are requirements. Yes, we do have requirements that we have to do in terms of like the specially designed instruction or providing like in that regard. No, so there's not like how we have IDEA protecting students, with disabilities. Not like that. But there are federal regulations that say that we have to have these processes, like the screener. We
Right.
have
I
to
understand
assess
that.
them every year, and
Yeah.
we also have to offer supports.
So we can offer them Rosetta Stone, and that's considered supporting them, right? So
Yep.
I'm just trying to distinguish between the support they're getting and support that the IDEA students are
Mhm.
getting. So this is something that, if you're thinking about, well, I probably don't want to go into it right now, but I think districts can get certain reputations for, we really help these kids a lot, or we don't do much for these kids. I don't know what our reputation is right now, but word gets around, I think.
I think
in
we're
that
doing more.
community about, in terms of how much support the kids are getting.
Yeah. I feel and I can strongly say we're doing more today than we've ever done.
I would agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think what I'm asking is that what we want to do?
We want to meet the needs of all of the students that come into our building. So whatever that looks like,
Okay.
that's what we.
Of ELL?
Well, on my
Yeah.
next slide.
I was going to say, and the reality of it is that they're going to take the same state tests as every
Yep.
other student. They're going to take all of those same measures. So if we're not meeting their needs, we can expect decreases in those other measures as well.
Are they offering the state tests in the languages, different languages, so that the kids can take it in their native language?
Spanish currently, yes. Spanish. There are accommodations that they can receive, such as receiving, so we can get a translator to come in and translate the test, but they cannot translate ELA. So they can translate the instructions, but they can't actually read like the passages in ELA. But we try our best to have translators come in if it's necessary to translate. For example, we had a Gujarati translator come in last year to translate for a science end of course exam for a high schooler. So there are accommodations like that we can put in place for those students, and we do. So this is just a quick slide that shows what the total enrollment is. We have 18 students that are active ELL students in our district. 11 are in monitoring status. So students who are in monitoring status means that they've tested out recently. We're required by the state to follow them for, I think it's 2 years after they exit. Federal regulations say we follow them for 4. So I err on the side of caution. I keep tabs on them for 4 years after they exit, just to make sure we're following the federal guidelines and hitting the state too. Last year we had 4 students exit in the spring of 2025, which was great. 4 students in 1 year exiting that's great. So that's one thing about ELL, being a student who's in the ELL status, it's temporary. So you might have a student who's identified on an IEP, and they're always going to have that IEP, or they're always going to have that disability that impacts their learning. ELL status is temporary. So I was just at a seminar, and somebody from the state said that they typically see somebody can acquire a language and be totally proficient within 5 to 6 years. So if you have a kindergartner coming in who is a newcomer, by 4th or 5th grade, they could test out and no longer be in this status. And then very last slide here. So this is just a funding overview to just kind of tell you how it all works. So we receive allocations from federal funding and also from state funding. So IDEA Part B allocation, that's our federal funding. We receive approximately $592,000 from that Part B allocation. That money has to go specifically to certain things. We choose to use that towards salaries, retirement benefits, and also some services that we are required to provide at Queen of Peace. And they use that to support an SLP, or a speech language pathologist there. So one thing I just wanted to say about that $592,000, it does sound like a lot. Whenever we put that towards the things that I have listed there, it covers 12 paraprofessionals in our district, and that SLP at Queen of Peace. So just to give you a little snapshot of what the bang for the buck is for that. The state support funding, we receive around $612,000 from state support funding. We do have opportunities for reimbursements throughout the year. So our district can apply for reimbursements. One of them is called threshold cost. It used to be called catastrophic cost, but they changed the name a couple years ago. Threshold cost provides reimbursement for educational costs that exceed specific special education services. So if we have a specific student that we are exceeding the per pupil or whatever their category is, it could be anywhere between $27,000 to $32,000. If we're spending more than that, we can apply for reimbursement. So we have our process of doing that in the office and applying for that once a year. We also have excess cost, which is already passed for this year. Excess cost is when the state provides us reimbursement for non-resident students that we're educating that exceed the amount received from the state. So we already did that, so that's why I have the number. The threshold cost doesn't come until the end of the year. But excess costs, Steve and I were looking at it today, it was around $19,000 for that reimbursement. So that puts our budget at approximately 1.3 million. One thing about the special ed budget is it's really big, but there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff, and most of it's not optional. So most of it's earmarked for the things that we need, and that includes. I just took some of the big ticket items that make up the special education budget. There's obviously little odd and end things here and there, but paying, when you think about related services, you have occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech, audiology, visual, TVI, or teacher of the visually impaired, orientation and mobility. We have all of these services that we're able to provide our students, and we do provide our students. We have school psychologists in our buildings. We purchase these curriculum materials that I was telling you about, the unique learning systems, all of those reading intervention materials. We also have, if a student, for whatever reason, can't attend Ross and has to be placed in an outside placement, we cover the tuition for that. Sometimes we have to use third-party transportation contracts to get those students to and from home. So, those are all things that we have to pay for. Evaluation assessment materials, so our school psychologists and all these related services, they have to have evaluation materials. So those things cost money, and that's covered under our budget. And then I just wanted to end with a little bit of student engagement. These are just some pictures from our True Strength Night that we had a couple weeks ago, January 16th, I believe it was. This was the varsity boys basketball game when we played Edgewood. The community came out. We celebrated our kids. We had a great night. Saw a lot of smiling faces, had some kids make some three-pointers. It was great. So just wanted to end on that note. So that's all I have.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
I'll say one thing. Thank you for the presentation. This is what public education is all about. We have an opportunity, and we are blessed with the privilege to serve all students. And the word all means all. There is no one that we stand at the door and say we won't serve. So they come with all their challenges, and they come with all of their asks, and it's our responsibility in public education to figure out how we answer their asks. So thank you to Becky and her team across the district for all they do. And if you've never been to that event, I would say mark it on your calendars for next year. Make a calendar reminder about it, because it's pretty awesome. So thank you. Yep.
Yeah, I was there. Yeah, it was great. Very nice. Sure. It's a big responsibility, Becky, but an important one. We thank you very much for your leadership in that area. All right, so we have items for discussion.
Yes, we have
Bryce?
several items for discussion specific to board policy tonight. And as I mentioned earlier, this should get us through the biennial budget. So remember, we started this conversation a couple of months ago. It's a biennial budget, but it ends up being a whole lot of policy. So that's the way bureaucracy works. First piece of policy we'll look at is IGAE, which is health education. This is solidifying the parents' rights to opt out of curriculum or materials for their children. There was a lawsuit in Montgomery County Public Schools where there was a process in place. The school said it was too cumbersome, that process, so they eliminated the process. The parents sued and said, no, we want that ability to opt out of curriculum. So this solidifies the parents' rights. So there's just some simple language changes inside of that one. Any questions about IGAE? Policy IGBB. Programs for gifted and talented students. This is a significant rewrite to this policy. The policy change is about the screening practices and the requirements to notify parents, including what is a part of the WEP, what we call WEPs, which is the written education plan. So like I said, that is a pretty significant rewrite on that one. Any questions about IGBB? Two policies linked together here, IGD and IGDJ, co-curricular and extracurricular activities and interscholastic athletics. These are one of those policies that, think about this. This was a biennial budget, and we added a piece about ice hockey participation in there. If your school doesn't offer ice hockey, but you are next to a school that does, you can now play ice hockey. How that ended up in the biennial budget, I have no idea, but it did. It also talks about interscholastic participation for non-resident and homeschool students that are the victims of harassment. So we've had policy about that. This just changes some wording on that.
Yeah, and why ice hockey? of all the sports.
I mean, my theory on all of these things is
What's
there's
gonna be
probably
next?
one representative whose kid didn't have that opportunity. So it ended up, the horse trading that goes on for biennial budgets and ended up in there as an addendum.
Crazy.
And now we are updating policy for that. Any questions about those two? Next policy is IKA, grading systems. The records and reports of individual students are kept in a form that is understandable to parents as well as teachers. The board approves the grading and reporting systems as developed by the faculty in accordance with all statutory obligations upon recommendation of the superintendent. If the district uses weighted grading scale, so this affects us, courses are weighted in accordance with any applicable state law requirement. So we mentioned this before, and Amy's in tune to this, like career tech classes now are going to be weighted as any other class that you weight in your school, and we have to go back in time to figure that out. So we're working through that right now, and that lends to the question, like, I think we're at a precipice of having a conversation about weighted courses in this district, because we now have all College Credit Plus, all AP, all honors, all career tech that are weighted. At some point, what is weighted, if everything is weighted? So that's for another time, but that's what this policy is about, IKA. Any questions about that one? Policy IKF, graduation requirements. This is financial literacy. This allows an exemption. Again, it's part of House Bill 96. If your school has a bank, well, we don't, but we have to write it in that policy. So, any questions about that one? Policy IKEB, acceleration single subject or whole grade. This is advanced mathematics placement. The law requires districts to provide each student achieving an advanced level of skill on a mathematics achievement assessment or end of course examination with advanced learning opportunities in mathematics. So if the student is scoring in a certain threshold for the end of course, we have to be able to offer them an advanced math course offering. Any questions about IKEB? Policy IND, school ceremonies and observations or patriotic exercises. This is about Constitution Day. We had Constitution Day already in our policy. This specifies exactly when you do it, and you can't get away with it if the date falls on a weekend. So it just changes some language things in there. Any questions about IND? Policy JEDC, which is religious expression days. So we've talked about this one before, but they continue to tweak that. Small fix in Ohio Revised Code, and it had to offer my contact information. I have no idea why we have to have that in there, but we do, so it's there now. Any questions about that one? Policy JEFB, release time for religious education. So again, in the House Bill 96, that was a biennial budget. We're required now as a board to adopt a release time for religious instruction policy. We must authorize a student to be excused from school to attend a released time course for at least one period per week. If you've heard of the LifeWise school, I would encourage you to Google that. They have reached out to us and has said that there are members in our community that are interested in that. It was started in Van Wert, Ohio. The concept is Bible study during the public education day, and this law allows students, we would not force them, but students that want to physically leave campus to receive that Bible instruction and then come back to campus. So that's why we refer to it as LifeWise. It's actually an Ohio State football player that started this program. The governor is big time behind it, so it's gotten a lot of push in policy. So that's simply what this is about. It requires nothing on the school standpoint right now, but again, I've received a letter from LifeWise that there are, and they don't tell you who, it usually means there's a church in our community that's exploring this as an option, but they have to do all the work behind the scenes.
Is it
So,
one period per week?
one period per week is what our policy would say.
Yeah, so that'd be,
You have some options of what you want to do. That is the least exclusive. I don't know what the right terminology is, but for our students, we thought that was the best process rather than allowing more time or a vaguer policy. Questions on that one? I have a feeling we'll hear more about that one.
Is that a K-12?
It is.
Okay.
Yep. And what you'll see across the state are churches are going in and buying maybe there's a ranch house that's for sale next to an elementary. So they buy that and they turn that into their LifeWise Academy building. And then students, they provide transportation. I mean, there's a lot to it if we were to get there. We're not there yet, but. Policy EHA, District Records Commission, Records Retention and Disposal. Records does not, this is what this policy changes, records does not include personal notes or any document, device, or item regardless of physical form or whether an assisted device or application was used by a public official. So our personal notes are defined as not a public record. That makes sense. They say device because people are using, right, look at Steve, AI assistants to capture notes of meetings and things like that. That would not be considered a public record. That's his own notes. Policy FD, Facilities Development. This is just adding some language about levy and bond elections. This again is making us jump through more hoops if we got to that point where we needed to do a levy or bond. It provides other notices and information, or we would have to provide other notices and information as required by law. Any questions about FD? Policy FEF, Construction Contracts and Bidding. They added a sentence in there, or other manner allowable under state law. So this is talking about when someone wins a bidding contract, they have to show that they have the financial means to do the work. So this is allowing them to use other forms of payment other than like a business check or things like that. That's why they say other ways. So I don't know if that means just like a bank note. I don't necessarily know what that is specific to. Questions about FEF? Two more. GBQ, criminal records check. This continues on. We talked about this last month, including bus and motor van drivers, currently employed school bus, motor van drivers. You now are required by law every 6 years to have a background check. So anybody that has that motor van license, now that many of our coaches do, they have to have a specific background check to this. And then last is GCI, Certified Staff Assignments. This is not one that really affects us because this is not something that we had in our master contract. House Bill 96 allows management essentially to transfer, reassign, or assign teachers, whether voluntary or involuntary. The superintendent has that permission, and it's no longer based on seniority. So there were some contracts out there that the management right to transfer someone inside their subject matter, inside their licensure area, had to be based on seniority. Again, that doesn't necessarily affect us. Any questions about any of those policies? I know there were a lot today.
We'll vote on those next month.
Yes, sir. And that's all I have for items for board discussion this evening.
Okay, great. Legislative report.
Looking at the OhioSchoolBoards.org website, January the 12th, the County Budget Commission, DeWine, signed a bill detailing what those commission's role is going to be in controlling some of the taxes that are applied for us. They can look at them and pull them back if necessary. It was saying in here that for the first year, they won't actually make any changes. So if you do pass something, they can't make any changes within the first year. Just something I hadn't seen before. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Steve, or not, but that's kind of just.
Yeah, no, that pretty much covers it. It just gives the Budget Commission more authority to ask questions and require the district to submit more information if you do get to a point where you're going to request any type of additional dollars.
Yeah. And the people that make it up are the county auditor, county treasurer, and the prosecuting attorney.
Yep.
So all people well versed in education.
So hopefully the auditor's somebody who likes you
Yeah.
or likes public schools.
Butler County so far has been pretty good. Like, we submitted our tax budget after the last board meeting. They didn't have any questions, require us to provide any additional documentation. There are some counties that they made the district come in. The superintendent, treasurer, board president had to go meet with the county auditor, the budget commission, and go through line by line. Well, why are you saying you're going to collect this much in taxes from this source? Why are you spending this much on this line by line on that tax budget? So Butler County so far has been relatively easy to work with.
Good.
And then House Bill 186 that continues to go through Steve's been sending me stuff for the past week and a half, or what our forecast looks like, so.
Yeah.
Seems a little bit worse every time I open it up.
Quit opening it.
It's not going away.
Yeah, so House Bill 186 is one of the 4 property tax laws that Governor DeWine signed on December 19th. What that does, it limits future reappraisal growth that districts that are on the 20 mil floor can receive. So we're not going to see those 15, 20, 25% increases in valuation anymore, which impact the amount of property tax collections we have. It also, the toughest part of it, it includes what they call a clawback provision, where it actually goes back and pulls revenue that they already gave you over the last couple reevaluations. So that's where schools are getting hit hard. Limiting the future growth, great, like we can deal with that, we can project that moving forward, but to go back and take money that we've already received, that's putting schools in a difficult spot.
How quickly, have they said how quickly they are expecting funds like that to be reimbursed to the state?
Well, I don't know about the reimbursement. So this is money that'll go back in the form of a credit to property taxpayers. I don't know how quickly that's going to happen. They're projecting our clawback payments to come next year in fiscal year 27.
Okay.
Yep.
And don't forget, next month we have the
Yeah.
3-year forecast, under 5-year forecast.
Right.
The 3-year forecast,
Yeah,
so
we'll
we'll go
talk through
over
all of
all
this
these
in
things
detail.
in
Yep.
detail, and you'll see some numbers, because
Right.
it's not pretty.
Yeah.
I mean, and we need to start having those conversations.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's it for that.
okay, great. Well, they're sticking it to us. Butler Tech report. Mr. Kleinfelder has graciously decided that he will be willing to continue to be our representative at Butler Tech, which we're allowed to do by law. So thank you, Mr. Kleinfelder,
All right,
for
well,
agreeing to do that.
thank you. On January 20th, Butler Tech held their organizational meeting and their regular meeting back-to-back. It's kind of a different situation. They had 7 out of the 11 districts were brand-new people. 3 members, new members, had never been on any board before. The most famous was probably Lakota's representative, the 18-year-old who got elected to school board. There was some media there to talk to him, so he's on that. The 4 returning districts are Monroe, Northwest, Ross, and New Miami. So it's going to be a big change. The regular meeting turned into kind of a board orientation meeting than doing some normal business. But a couple of items.
Sounds like you're one of the more experienced members, so are you the president of the board?
No,
since you're
the
more
president and
experienced?
vice president are the same. Brett Guido from Monroe is the president,
Oh.
and Jim Detzel from.
All right.
They're both veteran board members. They've been a long time, longer than. So anyway, last week, Aviation High School at Middletown Airport, that building is complete. They opened up with students and are occupying that. There is a ribbon cutting. Information I gave you, they're going to have a ribbon cutting on March 16th at 10. It's a really neat building. If you get a chance, go up there and check it out. You'll be kind of impressed. They have power frame and avionics and a couple programs there where those kids are going to be able to get some nice paying jobs once they graduate. Also last week, the AmHub, the advanced manufacturing that occupies the Champion headquarters there at Knightsbridge, opened up. That's in conjunction with Miami University. They are having a ribbon cutting ceremony. I don't know why they didn't give me a flyer, but that's February 2nd at 10 a.m. And they are going to have, they're estimating 700 people there because they're going to have all these manufacturing executives and people around Butler County, Hamilton County are coming to there for that. If you're going to go to that, it's going to be a mess. I'm just pointing that out ahead of time. So, but that has opened up. And then Bioscience is going to open up their nursing addition that they put onto that building next week with students. That's in conjunction with Cincinnati State, where they're going to offer a Bachelor of Science in Nursing. You're going to be able to come out of there with that for some adult students and some regular high school students, K-12. Where's my second thing? All right, third. Cafe Lee, I passed out a schedule. this week was supposed to be in the Ross student Tanner and American Cuisine, but because of the 2-hour delays with the temperature and bad weather and frigid conditions, they bumped him back to the open week on your schedule in April. But that's open every week. It's very reasonable price lunches, probably under $10. It's really good. Chef Simpson does a great job with those kids. They have great service. They will take cash, check, or credit card at that facility. But if you get a chance and you got a free Wednesday or Thursday afternoon, get a chance to go out there and check that out. That's always worthwhile. And then kind of a school update. Butler Tech is going to start class next year on August 12th, which is probably early, but that's going to be their first day of school, and they're going to have new student orientation on August 10th. So that's for all the people that are been out of shape about the start of school, whatever. And then the meeting itself was kind of, like I said, an orientation to what Butler Tech's about. Dr. Sprankles and the administrative team kind of went through the strategic plan that they've discussed back in November in great detail and kind of regurgitated a lot of those facts and stuff for the new board, talked about the goals of the district and so forth. So getting them up to speed. A lot of policy additions that were there too. So. And that's all I have for the Butler Tech report. Just a reminder that I enjoyed Emily's and Becky's presentation there, but I'd like to be a little earlier in the agenda. All right, thank you. Any questions?
Thanks, Keith.
No, thank you. Appreciate you helping us out. All right. Did we have anybody take a form for no public comment? All right, good. All right, Dr. Rice.
Yeah, item 11, superintendent's reports and recommendation. I have a few items for us. Personnel, which includes resignations, retirements, supplementals, and stipends, including the residential educator stipend, and then lots of the stipends for the spring sports. We also have an overnight field trip. You'll notice that that field trip is down the road quite a bit, but this is going to allow an opportunity for our band families to fundraise and, collect as much as possible, because this is going to be an expensive one. They're going to New York City on that one. And then lastly is item C, policy approval as read and discussed at the December board meeting.
I did have a question about the overnight field trip, and I forgot to ask it to you earlier before the meeting. So the band, I think in the past, like every 4 years, had gone to Disney World. Are they doing this in lieu of that trip or in addition to it, do you know, or?
I think it's in addition. It's every other year they take a trip, so.
Oh, it's every other year they're
Yes.
taking a trip now?
Yes.
Okay. So
New
this
York,
is,
And then 2 years Disney, then back to New York. They've been
Okay.
doing that for a
Yep.
all right, okay. Thanks. Okay, do we have a motion to approve the recommendations made by Dr. Rice?
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we call the roll, please.
Yes. Mr. Beckman?
Yes.
Mrs. Webb?
Yes.
Mr. Korinik?
Yes.
Mr. Gunther?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes. The motion passes.
Okay. Yep, so 4 items tonight, letters A through D, a couple donations, our investment report from Red Tree, and then our cash summary and financial snapshot for the month through the end of December. We also, letter D is the approval of the band uniform purchase. So that is, we'll be purchasing those here in the next couple of months. They should have them for their trip, hopefully. It takes about 6 months for the uniforms to come in, so it does take a while. We, that purchase, as we've done in the past in this district, is being split 3 ways. So the district pays for 1/3 of that, the band boosters pays for 1/3, and then the band fund, through their own fundraising efforts, also covers 1/3 of that total cost.
How long do the uniforms typically cycle out?
Yeah, about 10 to 12 years. The set they're on now is 12 years old.
Okay.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the recommendations of treasurer?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we call the roll.
Mrs. Webb?
Yes.
Mr. Korinik?
Yes.
Mr. Gunther?
Yes.
Mr. Beckman?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes. The motion passes. Okay, this time the board, do we have any reports regarding facilities or finance?
Nothing from facilities yet. We have a meeting next month.
Okay,
Finance, we did have a meeting, a lot of discussion on House Bill 186 and a couple others that affected our budget. We'll get to see the full reflection next month.
yes.
So
Yeah.
between that and the addition of the most recent contract will be in this forecast. So
Okay,
we'll get to talk more about that next month.
thank you. Okay, at this time, I'd like to have a motion to, well, we just have to declare,
Recess, yeah.
right?
Yep.
So we're going to move into executive session to prepare for, conduct, review negotiations or bargaining sessions concerning their compensation or other terms of employment, but more specifically, the employment of the evaluation of the superintendent treasurer. So we will return,
Yep.
we will adjourn at the end of the executive session, no further action to be taken. So, thank you everyone for being here. We'll see you next month.